point of the whole dynamic is that you're talking about a situation where, in order to remove the need for conflict, the need for competition and comparison, the need for that dynamic, if you provide the basic needs of all human beings, simply because of the fact that they are incarnate on the planet and they are human, and if you believe in any divinity at all, then everyone is divine in that sort of way. Everyone is worthy. Everyone deserves the dynamic of the understanding of the nature of your reality. And so as you begin to expand your awareness, expand your consciousness, understand that there is so much truth in the dynamics of what you have been taught. All it has been presented in such a chaotic and non-linear sort of way that it is very difficult outside of the tenets of what shall we say, the things that you utilize in order to give you structure, which is religion, which is belief system, which is political parties, but it is, the whole dynamic of leadership, the whole dynamic of that you somehow cannot lead yourselves, that you need help, that you're not worthy, that you're not smart enough, that's all bullshit. And that's a spiritual term too, Kenny. But it is. It's all bullshit. In the dynamics of it's just intended to keep you disempowered, to keep you from being who you really are. And here we'll go back. Go back to the dynamic of the Bible and go back to the dynamic of Genesis. What is the dynamic of the movement of humanity? The movement of humanity is the movement into consciousness. The problem is that the movement into consciousness has been demonized to mean something negative, that you had created a dynamic of disobeyance, of original sin in the dynamics of your having been, what shall we say, exiled from the garden experience, when in fact all that was being described was a dynamic of a movement from a collective consciousness, a collective awareness, an awareness that was more, what shall we say, adjacent to the reflections of a primate, and that at a certain point of development, a certain point of reasoning, a certain point of influence, as a humanity, you began to individuate. You began to, instead of being a we and developing the dynamic of only understanding the consciousness of we, and if you have ever seen a murmuration in the dynamics of thousands of birds all flying in a certain direction, they all wheel and change at the same time. There is a certain dynamic of a collective awareness and instinctual awareness that occurs. Then, as a humanity, you had the same thing, but eventually every child moves and grows. Every child needs to separate from the mother and the father in order to develop an identity of their own, and the same thing holds true in the dynamic of species. And so in the dynamic of your species, the legend of Adam and Eve and the snake and the tree of knowledge and all of that stuff, what was the knowledge that was gained? The knowledge that was gained by Adam and Eve was that they realized that they were naked in the sight of God. And what does that mean? Well, all of a sudden they had self-awareness. And that was the whole dynamic of the movement. And you have been, as a species, trying to adjust to that dynamic of self-awareness from then until now. And yeah, it's thousands and thousands of years. It is millions of years if you consider the whole dynamic of evolution and transformation and how all of that has happened. And at the very same time, we can say it was all purposeful, it was all planned, it was all a part of the divine movement. All right. What, we're on a roll?
You're on a roll.
We're on a roll.